Like Batman.
Okay. Three, two. And now let's welcome Darren Bush to the show. It's a long time coming for him to finally show up and be put into the Geek Seat. We've known him forever. So welcome to Earth
It's
Station One,
true.
my friend.
Thank you, Mike and Michael. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. We appreciate you being here. And yes, as Mike said, we've known you for a while, but for those people who may not be familiar with you and we see you at the conventions, you're working,
Mhm.
right? You're involved in all kinds of fandoms. I know you got a big convention coming up this weekend as well.
Absolutely. On October 8th is Monsterama. We're doing Monsterama Jr. this year. It's like a full day of programming, but in 2023 we're going to be back strong with a 3-day program. Monsterama, for those of you who don't know, is classic horror and monsters and science fiction and the fantastic. It's a show where I get to be a track director, and right now what Michael is referring to is I'm in the middle of trying to schedule and record a bunch of virtual panels to supplement the live material that's going to happen in 6 days. Wow, I just did the math and kind of scared myself there a little bit.
As well you
Yeah.
should. As well you should be
Uh-huh.
scared.
Well, I
So we're
should.
glad you're, spending quality time with us
I
when you could
appreciate
be
that. I
when you could
appreciate
be
yes,
when you could be working.
yes. You guys,
Um,
you guys should be flattered. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm the one that's flattered. So
It's an honor. It really is an honor, sir.
we're just coming off Dragon Con.
Mhm.
Do you volunteer for Dragon Con as well?
I do. I do. I sit on panels for the American Sci-Fi Classics track, which the two of you might have heard of. And I also occasionally get to do a panel for the sci-fi literature track. The track director Sue there, every once in a while, she'll bring me over and let me do something really amazing with the sci-fi authors over there. And
Hmm.
I also moderate about 3 or 4 panels a year for the alternate history and historical fiction track. I'm sorry, Liz, I can never get the name right, but it's alternate history, historical fiction, and they let me come over and moderate some really interesting topics over there for them.
Wow, that's three different hotels or two.
Oh,
You're, you're walking around, man.
it is. It's 3 different hotels. Yeah.
He
Yeah,
wants to get his steps in for the weekend. Come
sure.
on.
I get it.
Everybody
I get
knows
it.
that.
I get it. And that's not all, right? You're also part of other conventions as well, right? In the local Atlanta area.
I am. The fun part about doing Monsterama the first week in October is that Conjuration is the first weekend in November, or is it the second weekend? It's either the first or second weekend in November, depending on which November you're talking about. Conjuration is a magical fantasy literature convention. It's a 3-day, and we do, it's almost the opposite of Monsterama, but in a good way. Pretty much every topic we don't cover at Monsterama, we cover at Conjuration. I
Hmm.
am the equivalent of a track director there also, and I get to do a lot of experimental theater, if you will. Like every once in a while I'll whip out a game show, or we'll do some panel that's just ridiculously strange, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, if you're looking forward to, say, the next Dresden Files novel, we have panels for you. If you're watching Rings of Power, we have panels for you.
Man, that's a busy like 1, 2, 3 month, right? For you.
Yes.
The rest of the year, do you just rest?
Yeah, yeah, I try. I try and recover. There's always conventions going on, and I'm trying to get my what I'm really trying to do right now is get myself out of Atlanta, greater Atlanta, and get up to Chattanooga, get over to
Mm,
Birmingham, those sorts of other conventions that I've heard great things about, just haven't figured out how to show up personally.
so many good conventions. Do you remember your first?
Yes, I do. When I was a teenager in I was
Oh
dragged
yeah, I
by
remember
some
that
friends.
year.
So the 19
That was a good year.
was a very good year because that was the year some friends of mine dragged me to Dixie Trek, which at the time was held in the Oglethorpe University Student Center,
Wow.
which is, looking back, that's a really weird sentence. But the crazy thing is that my daughter currently goes to Oglethorpe University. So we were walking around and I went, oh, yeah, I went to a convention in that building over there. And she's like, great, Dad, you're really old. Thanks.
She's like,
Um,
of course you did, Dad.
of course you did. Yeah. but went to Dixie
Did you
Trek.
come in the car that you had to use your feet to get there and everything?
Yeah, she is. Every once in a while, my daughter is a little upset that I have been everywhere in Atlanta because I've been in Atlanta for so long. But yeah, Dixie Trek in
Wow.
19.
That's that's awesome. I mean, that's a amount of years, right?
It is a very long time ago. Yeah, yeah.
And what would you say, I mean, if you had to pick or, lean towards one way or another, because it sounds like you're quite diverse in your fandoms. Is
Hmm.
there anything that pulled you in at first
Pulled me in at first. Wow.
to this fandom geek world?
I don't know exactly what came first, but my first real memory of geekdom is that my mother set me down in front of Star Trek television and went, "Here, maybe this will keep you occupied for an hour."
Mm.
And it worked. And an hour later, I went, "Is there more of this?" And she went, "Oh yes, there's more of this." So, original series Star Trek on TV was, I think, my first real experience of the deep geek.
Hmm. And do you have is it mainly TV, movies, literature, comics, about a little bit of everything?
Can I get away with yes? Yeah,
Sure,
it's I
absolutely.
really
Of course,
I
it's your segment.
yeah, thank you, Mike. I really don't care. I've got a box of very old comic books that I'm still wondering what I'm going to do with them. I've been collecting movies. I have a room dedicated to the novels and the books. So the real problem is that I haven't been able to decide what to not be involved in as far as media goes. So every once in a while, my wife goes, "We don't have enough room for all of your stuff anymore." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I know. I need to. I just can't bear to get rid of any of it." But I'm all over the map. Audiobooks, radio dramas, like I said, comic books, graphic novels, just everything. And I don't have any on the wall behind me, but on the other side of that wall, there's a whole bunch of plushies of dragons and Cthulhu and all kinds of wacky stuff.
Yeah, I know that the prevailing opinion seems to be that everything is really divisive now. But I can
Hmm.
even remember back when I was a kid, it was either you like Star Trek or you like Star Wars. You didn't like you had to choose. Either you like Marvel or you like DC. You had to
Hmm.
choose, right? And I was like, why can't I like all of it? And then as an adult, I look around me and I see that I have barely enough room to breathe, and I'm like, oh, that's why you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that psychologists would say that it's more normal to focus on one thing and be really excited about it as opposed to being equally excited about everything, which, yeah. So,
How how have things I mean, at the risk bringing out the grumpy old man, how have things changed with fandom in general? Do you find it's things are better now?
I do. I do. It is a fabulous time to be a geek. My only regret now with the fact that geeks basically won the culture war is that I am years behind on everything. I have not watched, like, don't, please don't quiz me because it's just embarrassing. There's so many movies and TV shows that are on the list I haven't gotten to. There are so many novels I want to read that I haven't gotten around to reading. That is the only downside right now, is that just everybody is hitting the geek culture. It's like whack-a-mole. It's like, okay, I'm reading The Expanse, and what's next? Uh, it is. It's much better. It's much better. I find that we're still, like, I don't want to be a downer, but we're still struggling with representation, but it's getting better. And
Mhm.
we're still struggling with the fact that even though the internet made it easier to get access to material, it also made it easier to create your own material. So the amount of stuff that's out there is just overwhelming, and it's not all good, but it is
Mhm.
very easy to find. It's very easy to find stuff that's in your interest. So,
Have have you ever and forgive me because I don't know this actually about you,
mhm,
but have you ever dipped on the other side? Have you written or gotten involved with production of stuff?
absolutely, absolutely.
That's
I
awesome.
am. This is another one of those where the list is way too long because I haven't been able to jettison anything. I am a science fiction and fantasy short story writer. I've had
Nice.
two of my short stories published in anthologies. I have Like at some point, I'm going to have so many short stories. I should just, I don't know, make my own anthology. I have, within the last couple of years, I started my own, what I'm calling a virtual science fiction convention. It's basically a
Mhm.
YouTube channel called Tables of Content. So I'm the founder and the executive producer, which sounds great, but really it basically just means I created a YouTube account. And those, so far, all the videos on there are panels that I've done with my, geek buddies, where we watch old movies and we talk about the movies that we just watched. So we have a lot of fun with that. But right now, most of my energy goes into like the events, running the conventions, helping out with some of the smaller geeky events. But yeah, I dabble in everything on the creator side. I don't do any illustrating or graphic design, so don't have to worry about that. But almost everything else.
Wow. Wow. A geekissance man. I
Yeah.
think nerdissance. I don't know. Do we have a word for that yet? We should have
Now,
one. Some.
now, if you guys sell a Geekissance t-shirt, I will buy one. I want.
Well, there you go.
I want
T
that t-shirt,
Public,
Michael.
Mike. There we go.
That's our next T-shirt right there. The
Yeah.
Geekissance.
I want one. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, he said, Mike, that don't quiz him, but we do
Too
have the
late.
Geek Seat. Yeah, we do have the Geek Seat here, and I
Uh-oh.
think Darren is ripe and ready.
Oh, you can tell the smell. Oof.
Whew.
Well, he said you were ripe, so it fits.
No, we heard you.
I know. All right, Darren, are you ready for your first question in the Geek Seat?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Trust me, they start off easy and get harder as they go along.
Okay. All right.
All right. And I've known you long enough, and you only might cry a little bit, so it's okay.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get a tissue. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, Darren. What was your favorite Geek Out moment?
Favorite moment. Okay, so we just, this is fresh on my mind because we just did this on one of the panels I recorded for Monsterama. I went to Dragon Con a very long time ago. Bruce Campbell was there. We got to the Q&A part. I put my hand up and he picked me. Right? That's okay. Hold on. That's not the good part. The good part is that I asked a question along the lines of, can you talk about the stunts that the insurance companies won't let you do? And I must have hit a nerve because he started ranting and he started saying, I'm a stunt person. I'm competent. I'm good at this. They won't let me do the stunts I can do. And he got so upset. He grabbed himself by the back of his shirt and flipped himself over in a front somersault and landed on his back on the stage.
Damn.
Right. And I was sitting there
Wow.
going, that was my question. I asked that question. That was my question.
Everybody's like, that was a plant.
It was a plant. Who is this guy? Is he
That's
really his
awesome.
brother? That's it. Yeah, that's it.
So I can be hired out for, no, it's, I'm sorry.
What was your most disappointing Geek Out moment, though?
Most disappointing. Oh God, you guys are asking, these are the easy questions. So let's see if, so the short version of the story, which I call the Jim Butcher understudy story, was that I was doing a panel for Sue in Dragon Con Science Fiction Literature. She comes to me right after the panel and says, can you run over and can you be on a panel? We've got an improv, kind of a panel, and I need somebody over there. I was like, oh yeah, I used to do improv. I would love, yeah, give me the stuff. So I'm running over, looking at my phone, looking at the app. Jim Butcher is on the panel. I'm a huge fan. Love the Dresden Files. Lost my geek right there. Like made a mess in the hall. Was like, oh my God. I get in there and it's one of the So it's one of the kind of, I would say, medium-sized rooms, 1,000 seats. I get in there, and the reason why Sue needed me so quickly was because Jim Butcher canceled.
Whoa.
So not only did I not get to do a panel with Jim Butcher, but I was the nobody who sat in his seat.
Did you have to keep the crowd entertained or just announce that he wasn't there?
Oh, thank goodness they didn't say, and here's Jim's replacement, Darren Bush, who we don't know who he is, but he's here. Like, thank goodness they didn't say that out loud. But it was on the program. I wasn't the only person who knew it was right. But
Right.
it was a panel where we were given story prompts, and so we were officers on a spaceship that was doing Alien First Contact.
Oh.
So So I think that it went really well. I think I got a few moments of decent laughter from the crowd at a few, not every time, but a few times.
That is awesome. That
Yeah.
is really awesome. What geeks you out the most?
Geeks me out the most. It kind of relates back to the Jim Butcher panel story, because what I really like the most about being an alpha geek is that every once in a while I'll say something ridiculous out loud and a room full of people will agree with me. And that's just it's bizarre, but it's so satisfying. The best example I have of this is that at a very early conjuration 6 or 7 years ago, we were doing a Lord of the Rings panel. I was trying to make a point about Galadriel, and my brain just went, just throw this out and see what they think. So I said out loud to a room full of Lord of the Rings geeks, well, you know that Celebrimbor is Galadriel's purse, right? Not normally what you would when you use the term purse, not the normal way, but in the Lord of the Rings kind of setting way. And I thought they were going to kill me, but everybody laughed and everybody went, yeah. And that's like, I haven't had a better moment since then.
When you know you're
That's
with your
pretty
tribe.
awesome then. Yeah, that is awesome though.
Having my tribe be with me on the crazy thoughts it's wonderful. Those are great moments.
Let's look at the opposite side on that coin though.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. What turns your geek off?
Boy, wow. Okay. So what really shuts me down more than anything is when someone who supposedly is on my team does the gatekeeping thing.
Oh,
right? Like for somebody to say the obvious choice right now is, hobbits can't be black. That's one of the dumbest sentences ever said ever. Those people are easy to respond to or to ignore or to just go, whatever, because they're just so wrong. But what really gets me is when somebody who is like a geek and a fan and whatever will say to me, all right, I'm not going to mince words. I had somebody literally say to me that I wasn't allowed to be a Harry Potter fan anymore. And if I was transphobic.
what?
And I was like, right. And I was not happy about that, because I feel like part of what we have to do is help geek culture understand that the art and the artist are not the same thing. Now, of course, geeks don't have a monopoly on this, but we need to understand this. Is I read the Harry Potter books, love them. I now, as the reader, own that in myself, and the author is now irrelevant. And so I just ignore her. Being told that I'm no longer allowed to appreciate Harry Potter or I'm a bad guy. I'm like, okay, really? Seriously? You're supposed to be on my team here. That's not,
Well, exactly.
Not okay. Not okay.
You have your memories with it. You know where you were when you were reading it. It has a special place in your heart. There's many books, many TV shows by people who are now very controversial or something because of stuff they've said or something. And it should still stick, but it shouldn't affect you if you like something and everything,
Yeah.
So
and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to make a big thing about this, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's been anything that suggests that that series is that way, even though she is that way, right?
Yeah, this is one of those conversations that I just hate that we even have to have. But I've listened to the audiobooks all the way through about 19 times. I've read the books several times each. Didn't get a whiff of that. Didn't get a whiff of that. Now, are there positive representations of name 7 or 8 things that you can name? No, I can't find positive representations of a bunch of things. But are there negative representations of like the obvious? I don't see them. I don't see them. If I'd run into them, I would have noticed them and I would have made a note of that. I wasn't, I don't read science fiction and fantasy going, well, I'm just going to ignore everything that upsets me. No,
well, exactly.
Yeah.
I still love the Lord of the Rings books, but if you read it, the Lord of the Rings books or the Hobbits, it's basically a sausage fest. And, there's hardly any female characters in it.
Yeah.
And, does that mean Tolkien was whatever, and it doesn't affect how I like the books or whatever, and same thing with the Harry Potter or other things, that are out there. And like what you want, folks. That's what it's about. And, and don't judge people if they like certain things and stuff.
Right.
Except for if they're on the other side of the aisle, but that's a whole different story. Yeah.
Well, but not only that, we're geeks. Isn't that hypocritical? Didn't the 3 of us grow up being judged by that fandom?
Everybody did. Yeah. Exactly. if people saw I was drawing superheroes or something, oh, look at the nerd drawing a comic book character or something. And it's funny because I used to come back and, oh, you know who that person is, don't you? So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, shut up, nerd. That type of thing. What fictional character would you like to meet the most, sir?
The most?
Yeah.
Okay, so in all seriousness, I would love to play Dungeons and Dragons with Harry Dresden, Wizard of Chicago.
That would be awesome.
There's so many layers of yummy in that sentence because first of all, it's Dresden, but also just he plays D&D. It's canon. I would love to play D&D with him and see like him as a dungeon master creating his own like magic system and putting it into a D&D game. Oh yeah, I'm totally down for that.
That's awesome. What fictional character would you not like to meet, though?
God.
Okay, that's right. That's good.
There are many ways to interpret my answer. Go for it.
Exactly. All letters do, courtesy of Darren Bush, care of the ESO Network. P.O. Box.
P.O. Box.
Yeah. What is your favorite geek word, phrase, quote, or pose?
Did you say pose?
Yeah.
No, not going anywhere near that one. Okay, all right. That's all right. Yeah, okay. You're right. So my favorite geek phrase is not all those who wander are lost.
Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Which is Lord of the Rings, yeah, which is Bilbo talking or writing a poetry about Aragorn. And that like I have the bumper sticker somewhere around here. That phrase was very meaningful to me when I was a teenage geek who, way before geeks were appreciated. I was not lost. I was wandering. Big difference. So that phrase came along from Lord of the Rings. And I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh, between that and Jack Kerouac, it created my lust for road trips and wandering and travel. So it's, it was pretty awesome for that. I almost got it I almost tied that into my last tattoo I got. So it might actually come up next. So you never know.
Yeah.
So you never know. It's a great one. Kudos on that one.
Thank you.
What is your ideal geek occupation?
Ideal geek occupation. Actually, it's really the one I'm already doing, except it doesn't pay any bills at all. What I would want to do.
Welcome to our world. Welcome to our world.
Yeah, no, I know I'm preaching to the choir. What I would want to do is have my not regular ordinary, but my day job. I would want it to be running a convention of my own.
Oh, really?
I would. Yeah. Well, no, I know. It's.
You think you have gray hairs now?
That sentence is very yes. That sentence is very complicated. No, what I would want to do is have my living be being an alpha geek and an uber geek, being someone who creates content for other geeks to enjoy, someone who helps run conventions and shows, who produces YouTube videos and just enables other geeks to be able to participate in the process. And nobody's going to make a ton of money doing that. I just want it to pay the bills so I can have that be my focus and my full time.
Oh, sure. No, that totally makes sense. And a lot of people has that because there's so many fripping creative people out there, but they're just not able to do it as their full-time job. And the ones that do, I love it when we hear them say, I'm doing it, man. This is my, worked my way up to this and I'm able to do this. And it's one of the best sounds in the world hearing people say that, which is pretty awesome.
Yes, it is indeed.
Yeah. So the opposite of that though,
the opposite.
What geek occupation would you not like to do?
Oh, the same answer.
Same answer.
No. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I figured you guys were going to ask the opposite. No, the thing that I really don't enjoy personally about the geek machinery is the guest relations stuff. And it's not for any particular like negative reason. It doesn't excite me. I'm not particularly good at it. But also at the end of the day, I'm not really impressed with those people as much as I think you should be if you're going to talk to them, deal with them, and just deal with helping them, like all that stuff about minimum amount of money for a visit, how much getting them on an airplane, getting them a hotel room. that's I love people who can do that. No, I'm not built for that. It's
No,
not, and
that's
again, it's
totally
not out
awesome.
of any it's not out of any disrespect. My brain can't do it.
No, that totally makes sense, actually. All right. Are you ready for your final question in the
Final
Geek
question.
Seat? Yeah. Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
What is your ultimate geek fantasy?
Ultimate geek fantasy.
And it could be anything, man.
Well,
This
it's
is for all the marbles. So,
for
just
all
think
the
of it that way.
marbles. Boy, wow, I'm glad you asked this last because I'm gonna disappoint everybody probably. The the ultimate geek fantasy. Well, okay, so the first thing I think of about ultimate geek fantasy is to have Love, Death, and Robots animate one of my short stories. I think I'm gonna go with that. That's my final answer, Mike.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's Love, Death, and Robots is, for those of you who don't know, is basically Heavy Metal Magazine on Netflix. Which again, if you don't know Heavy Metal Magazine, sorry, you got to go back and check it out. But like short stories that have been changed into either hand animated or CGI. Those stories are always amazing. I have some short stories that I think would fit the Love, Death, and Robots motif, and so that really to me would be one of those huge achievements, is to have somebody come to me and go, we read that short story and we'd like to spend money animating it for you. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And you never know. It could happen. Stranger things have happened, my friend.
Yes.
So that is
Yep.
cool. Well, Darren, I've got some great news for you, my friend. You've made it through the Geek Seat. Congratulations.
Huzzah! Huzzah!
Mr. Mike
Huzzah!
Gordon, tell the young man what he's won.
You have won a lifetime subscription to the ESO network, a value easily worth $12.08.
Woo!
Easily. Excellent.
Easily.
Yeah, too bad it's not real money. So it's
Yeah,
station
it's
funds.
worth that, but I wouldn't try to exchange it because it doesn't. You never end up getting what it's really worth. But
it's like Disney bucks, but worth a lot less. So.
Exactly. All right, so we've got Monsterama. Most people who are watching this, listening to this, there's probably like a day, if they're right on top of things, there's probably like a day or two right before Monsterama. So tell people how they can go to that, but also even if they can't go in person, thanks to you, there's a lot of virtual programming they can take part in, right?
I don't know if we're up to a lot yet, but that's the goal. Yeah. So it's Monsterama. It's monsteramacon.com. This year in 22, we're doing a full day. The website has all the details. We still got guests coming in from Hollywood, got some amazing people. I'm going to do some live panel programming that I think is interesting and entertaining. But if you go to Monsterama Con on YouTube, you will find we've got a before panel that's already ready up there. And on October 8th, which is the day of the show, we're going to release the virtual content that's ready on that same day. So we're going to have some live programming and some YouTube programming both.
Awesome. And then in early November, Conjuration, right?
Yes. Conjuration is the first weekend in November. It's conjurationcon.com.
Gotcha.
And again, it's fantasy literature.
All right. We will have links to both of those on show notes. Any other links you want to throw out? Personal links or Instagram or anything like that? Social media?
So I don't do social media as much as maybe I should if I want to be serious about this. But if you go to YouTube and search for tables of content, you will see a bunch of movie watch party panels that were done at cons or done that I did myself. And I'm going to continue to feed videos up there as soon as I can get done with my busy season.
Awesome. Well, we'll have a link to that as well. Darren, thanks so much. It's been great having you on the station.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Let's take a quick break, and we are going to be back, and we are going to take a look at the Munsters. See you, Zach.